From IBEX in Tampa, I'm Alan Wendt with Sounding Straight Only. David Foulkes is with us, the CEO of Brunswick. Good to see you again as always.
Nice to see you again too, Alan.
You know, today is momentous for you because you're really introducing something that probably will be the headline that comes from this show of innovation, and that's through Simrad. And we've talked about boat automation before. We've seen different companies try it, but you think you guys have perfected it with a auto captain.
We do. So Simrad Auto Captain, the autonomous boating system we're launching today is a commercial product offering. It's been in development for a number of years. As you can imagine, it's a complex technology. You've seen similar technologies being developed and deployed in particularly the automotive industry. It just takes some time. But I think the combined power and capabilities of our Navico Group and Mercury Marine and Boat Group divisions are unique and able to bring something like this to life. So the system will autonomously and dynamically dock your boat, undock your boat, and perform close quarter maneuvering, precisely and reliably in a wide range of environments, which is for the boater means less stress and
Sure.
and more confidence, I think, and more fun and enjoyment on the water.
And we've seen this incrementally develop over the last 10 years,
yes.
With various electronic partners,
Yeah.
engine partners along the way, although obviously yours is Mercury.
Yes.
But was there one item that was a breakthrough, or is it just basically the sensors and the ACES strategy that you've got within Brunswick that brought it all together?
Yeah, it's a full system thing. As I've said before, autonomous operation on the water is quite a lot different from autonomous operation on the road. You've got 6 degrees of freedom and wind and waves and currents and a range of environmental conditions. So you just have to develop through a range of possible sensors, sensor configurations, making sure that the boat can sense its environment comprehensively because it needs to detect fixed objects and dynamic objects as well. So we worked with some partners there. We have a very powerful NVIDIA processor on the boat, which is certainly necessary. And then there's just a lot of software and a lot of training to be done. The system is trained on a whole range of environments. It needs to be trained to recognize a dock. It needs to be trained to recognize an object it needs to avoid, whether it's another boat or a swimmer in the water. All of those kind of things take time. And of course, we wanted to make sure that by the time we got to commercial launch, that we were extremely confident in its capabilities, not just to perform these maneuvers in nominal conditions, but to perform them in all reasonable conditions. So that definitely takes some time. It's just, it's a tough environment. And I'm glad we took the extra time to make sure that it was a great product to launch.
You have products around the globe. I keep reading, we own the market in this boat show and that boat show with outboards hanging off of boats. What is happening globally? I mean, in the States here, we have our own news version of what we're seeing, geopolitical situations. But what about around the world in terms of boat sales utilizing the Brunswick products?
Yeah, well, you noted, Alan, one of the highlights of our story, really, the Brunswick story over the past 5-7 years has been Mercury's increasing presence and penetration of the outboard market, not just in the US, where we have 47% share. I don't use that word. We in Canada, we're in the mid-40s. In Europe, we're in the 30s, and really we have a very high share of high horsepower outboards. If you look in Australia, New Zealand, we're in the 30s, I think, as well. So I just, the key to all this in the end is just great product and consistent innovation, along with being a great partner. You can't do without either. And we continue to do that, continue to push the boundaries in everything we do. We have products that nobody else has because we've innovated. And certainly, we're not at the end of the road here. There is more coming from Mercury, from Navico Group, from the rest of our product lines that I think will continue to encourage people to want to buy our products. If you look around the world at the moment, the world as a whole has been through this same cycle of high inflation followed by high interest rates and some slowing of the economies around the world. I think that is generally settling out a bit now. We've more recently in the US seen the market flatter. And we're seeing that, I think, in most of the markets. So hopefully we're at a trough, and hopefully, we'll begin a slow climb back. In the US, of course, we're hoping for some further interest rate cuts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are looking for financing when they're buying a new boat, and financing rates have been elevated versus
so even a
pre-pandemic
40% adds up. Well, suddenly you're 3/4 of a point down, and that happens in 6 months. And
that would be, great. I mean, if you look now at, of course, we had about a point cut in 24, and then that kind of slowed down, and now we've just begun again. I think that was obviously with the tariff situation, there was a fear of inflation coming back, so the Fed slowed. And if you wanted to finance a boat purchase now, you're probably in the 7% range. Pre-pandemic, you would have been in the 5% range. So we have another point will make a big difference, I think, especially to customers who are more sensitive to monthly payments, for example, than the capital outlay.
what are you seeing demographically around the world for product? Has the model shifted as to who buys a boat, who can afford to buy a boat in today's economy?
I think it's certainly clear that there is a bit of a bifurcation in a lot of economies between the wealthy and the not so wealthy. And we have seen some pressure, more pressure in the value parts of the market, particularly value fiberglass part of the market, than we have in the core and premium parts of the market. Everybody is affected, but some people are just more sensitive than others. And it isn't just interest rates, it's uncertainty, potential uncertainty about
Consumer
jobs.
confidence.
Consumer confidence has been up and down, a bit rocky. So, hopefully, what we'll see is a little bit more stability. I think the news flow has been particularly dynamic, which sets people on edge. If we could get a bit more stability in the news flow and get some more interest rate cuts, not only in the US, but around the world, that would be a big support, particularly for the more value end of the market.
I know the U.S. makes up the bulk of opportunity in the globe for using a boat, enjoying a boat. But when we look at geopolitical issues around the world, there's still a lot of the world to be developed for sales on boats.
There are.
I mean, you've got a long-term growth pattern ahead there.
Yeah. So, we obviously the traditional markets for boating are the US, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. There are some, kind of points of light in some of the bigger economies where, for example, car sales have really, like China and India and other places. We actually think the boat club model, Freedom Boat Club, is a way to begin to penetrate those markets. And we are seeing interest in starting up some Freedom Boat Clubs in some non-traditional boating locations. I think the advantage when you go in with a club like that is you go in not requiring infrastructure, necessarily the service infrastructure that's widely available in the developed markets, the storage, the support systems, how do you deal with insurance and all those kind of things. If you go in with a boat club, all of that is taken care of. So I think that's a potential wedge in the door of some of those bigger markets that have become huge in some other verticals like automotive.
So there's some shared back-end services that can also be accomplished. You think of the airlines. If you fly from the U.S. to Europe, you see the same gate agents suddenly with a bland uniform, but they're taking care of people that fly in United, fly in Delta, whatever, without being a Delta employee.
Yes, I think, there might be some opportunity there if we can work with the governments or local authorities in some of those areas to open them up to the possibilities of recreational boating. It's, you know, it is amazing how easy or relatively easy it is to get on the water in the US. If you go to other markets, for example, I was in Spain last week, I think, and you know, the amount of permitting that you need, the lakes don't have boat ramps, you know, insurance, the ability to tow boats over a certain size. There are a lot of barriers and that need to be broken down, and we just need a consistent effort in all of the markets, the developed markets and the new markets, to make boating easier and more accessible, and to make sure we don't go backwards. We need to keep going forwards with getting people on the water in all those markets.
You feel sometimes like the industry is competing against itself. They've made boats last so long, be so reliable, that now you're like, well, how do I sell against something I made 5 years ago that I don't want to say is bulletproof, but still runs just great like a new one?
Boats do last a long time, which is great for the consumer, I think. Doesn't make it quite so easy for the OEM. But I would say, you know, a huge portion of our business is aftermarket and P&A. So long as people are using their boats, we have a very substantial income stream and strong cash flow from Mercury P&A, from aftermarket, from Repower, from aftermarket Navico Group sales, from Freedom Boat Club. But we do, I think what that, honestly, Alan, it means we need to continue to innovate. We need to make new products compelling, more compelling than a 5-year-old pre-owned product. So I don't think we
can't play Pac-Man all day long. We need a really high-level video game.
Yes,
to
we
keep the
need
interest.
to keep moving things forward, and that's where things like Auto Captain come in, and some of our other ACES technologies and new propulsion technologies, new MFDs, radar, all of those things, as well as innovative boat designs, I think are key to making sure that we can continue to differentiate new products and make it desirable versus pre-owned products.
David, always good to see you. Great insights, man. I'd love to just be a travel bug with you, going to all these countries to see what opportunities are out there.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you again, Alan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And from IBEX in Tampa, I'm Alan Wendt.